Okay, so I've had my simple for about a little over a week now put together, and I did a lot of stuff to it after I went through the assembly instructions. Let's see. So, one thing that I did is I moved the printer board from the inside to the outside to have better clearance on the Y motor. Another thing that I just really screwed up is I switched the Y and Z axis motors. Z is actually up, unlike OpenGL and other 3D programs. Z is actually towards in and out of the screen. So I had that backwards, and that made a huge difference, of course. I had to level the print bed, and the wood is warped. So you're probably not going to get a good print off the bare wood itself. I ended up going to Michael's craft store and got a piece of glass, a 4x6 piece of glass for like 99 cents. So it's a good investment. Just lay the piece of glass on top of the board, and I just tape it down with masking tape on the sides. Some people use these binder clips here. But the problem I have with the binder clips is this piece down here won't fit underneath in between the two beds where it's leveling. So I just use masking tape and that works fine. The other thing is my Y-axis seemed to be jerky or slipping or something. So I just took off the vinyl tubing off of that and just have the string directly wrapped around the motor. And since then I haven't noticed any issues with slipping or anything like that. Let's see. Of course I had to calibrate all my stuff. Finding out how to do that wasn't exactly straightforward. But what I ended up doing is there's this calibration model. I'm trying to find the first one I printed out here. I believe this one's it. So they printed off this calibration model here, and basically what you do is this is supposed to be 40 by 40, 20, and 20. So you take your digital calipers, I have this guy here, and just measure each guy to how you need, and this was 43, a little bit over 43 millimeters. And so you know it's supposed to be 40, so you just take it and you do 40 divided by 43, 43 being the measurement that you took, and then you multiply that by whatever axis you're trying, whatever steps on that axis you're trying to calibrate. So for example, if you're right now, let's say your x-axis is 200 millimeters or 200 steps, then you would measure your thing and say 40 divided by whatever, and then you get this fraction. And so it's like mine was 0.7 something, and then you multiply that by the 200 that you originally had, and then you got your new stepping. You're going to have to do that back and forth a few times to actually get it calibrated well. Another thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to calibrate your extruder. You should do that first before you actually calibrate your X and Y axis. And I'll leave a link in the description telling you where to go and see where to get that. But yeah, I got it pretty good. I mean, these guys here, these aren't perfect, but there's this guy here is a pretty good print. Just a really thin, hollow guy. This is the one right before I calibrated the extruder for the second time as part of those steps. But here's my knob, and it's a pretty good print. Pretty accurate, and the nut just fits directly right in there, really nice. Speaking of that knob, one thing is I'm using the repetier, or however you pronounce it, and it comes with Slicer. And Slicer is kind of stupid at times and just can't slice a model correctly, and it doesn't give you a visualization of what it's actually going to print. So the first time I tried to print off that knob, I got this. I don't know how it did it, but it screwed up. So what I ended up doing is there's this program called Kiss Slicer, which is a paid version, but it actually can use most of the functionality for free. And then it ended up the same model printed off the actual knob. So I've been using Kiss Slicer for actually slicing, and it will make the G code for you, and then you can load it up in Repetier. Another problem I ran into is I was trying to print off this really cool Zelda chest. While this did not work very well because the print area, I assumed that the print area was 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters, but it's not. I measured more about 80 millimeters in the X and Y and about 65, 70 in the Z. So keep that in mind when you're printing off models, otherwise you're going to get something like this. So what happened was the printer would go up to here, and it still needed to print like another 10 millimeters, so the motor is just like budging, and then it goes the whole distance back. So then you ended up with a lopsided model. I'll probably try reprinting this guy out at a smaller scale and see if it works now that I have everything calibrated really nicely. Yeah, I printed off a Triforce emblem. Go get that real fast. So here's my Triforce emblem. It turned out decent. One thing you notice is that it's slanted. This was due to two things. One being that my bed wasn't completely level and in the Y plane, so it was down like this, so it would actually slope. The other problem was the Z axis like wobbles a little bit, so the motor is hooked up here, and then you got your rod here, and what would happen is the rod would go around like this. So what I ended up doing is made a top brace for my Z-axis that just sticks on the smooth rod, and then a hole for the threaded rod, and that keeps it in place. Just show you that real quick. Right now I am printing, but here's my finished guy. It's printing out a thin wall vase right now. I'll see how good it comes out. My print board is on the outside there. My cable routing ended up going from down here and then up, and I'm thinking about making a little cable thing this stick on the top of here, so I can have the cable go up on top of this bar, and that would be pretty cool. Make it all nice. And here's my brace here, and it's very simple. It's just a partial hole for this smooth rod, so there's a top on it, and then a hole here for the threaded rod. I did, when I designed it, I didn't get it quite accurate for this to fit onto the smooth rod very tightly, so I put a little piece of fabric in here, and now it's very smooth. I can tug on it. Well, I don't really want to because I'll screw up my print, but I can tug on it and it's not going to come off without a good amount of force. So yeah, that's been pretty fun. I'm really happy with it so far. Once all the calibration is done, now it's just a matter of finding things to print and designing new things. I want to make a clip for my car on my phone, so I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to put it, but because my front face of my dash doesn't really have much room to clip anything on, not even the air vents. So I'll probably go down there and figure out a design for that. I'd like to print off some stuff for my Arduino so I can have like a little case for it, maybe some make like some wheels or something, so I can build a little RC car that I can control. Another thing is I tried printing off some models from Super Smash Brothers, and that didn't come out so well. So I don't think the problem with printing off the model was actually in my printer. It's just that the scale is really small, and I don't think the model was actually made or sliced correctly. But here is Samus from it, and there's a lot of support material, and I broke off part of his ankle and then broke off right at the kneecap there. His arm isn't really fully developed, and I think I broke off this other arm here, and there's still some support material on the back. I'm just not even going to try to get it off because I've already broken him a couple times. But also the detail in him doesn't seem to be that accurate. It's just like rounded, and there's no real detail. Part of it's just because of the scale. The scale is really small. If it was larger scale, and actually Slicer didn't complain about a few things that were wrong with the model, I think it probably would have turned out pretty well. One thing is I'm actually pretty impressed because if you look at the Z-axis, this is exactly how that leg was formed. It's not leaning over to the left or right like this guy is. If you look at the feet, actually, you can tell right here it goes up and then it leans over, then it goes straight up. So this little part right here is actually caused by the bed leveling and with the wobble in the Z. And I've fixed that now. That coupling that I have is actually you can take a level to it and it's pretty damn level. So yeah, that's pretty much it for what I did and my experience so far. So I do plan on getting out the videos of me actually building the symbol. The issue is there's 5 hours of video that I'm going to have to edit, and sometimes I just need to skip through some stuff because I just took too long, and other places I messed up, so I'm going to have to go through and actually take video from the parts where I fixed it and show you that, so I'm not going to be as confusing as the actual instructions. But yeah, have fun, guys.